The Bengals blow it. The Bills clock management a disaster. And Dianna Russini joins us tonight. Stay right there. It's Watch DA Live's Sunday Pig Pile. Let's do it.
Your football Sunday has dwindled down to this. Just a bunch of busted bets and broken fantasy dreams. You need this, and we're here for you. Immediate reaction, big opinions, gang tackling. Be one with the channel. It's DA's Sunday Pig Pie. Oink, oink, suckers.
It's how we do around these parts. It's your Sunday Pig Pile here on Watch DA Live. Thanks so much for joining us. Oh, my God! Usually it's football, but you can't kill these New York Mets. Mark Vientos with a top of the ninth 2-run bomb. And it's 6-all in a silent Citizens Bank ballpark in downtown Philadelphia. Oh, my goodness. You cannot wipe out the Mets. I mean, it's so unpredictable, so improbable. A lifetime of torture in the biggest spots possible. And I'm still not prepared to fully invest my heart just yet. They just had a 4-3 lead, and Edwin Diaz blew that one. And they climb all the way back from down 6-4 to take a tie now into potential extras. They'll have the bottom of the ninth, of course, with the Phillies coming up. So they got to survive that before they even get to extras. But unbelievably, the Mets cannot be wiped out. I don't know what to say. For a franchise so used to meekly moving their way through good times and to wander into the night without much of a whimper, it is bizarre to see them just continue to come back to life. Whether it's a Freddy Krueger reference, whether it's a Jason Voorhees reference, whether it's the guy with the hook from I Know What You Did Last Summer, whatever it is, they are like that this year. Impossible to kill. Will not die like a New York City cockroach or a subway rat. So here we are. October baseball has been absolutely stupendous. The game last night between the Yankees and the Royals, phenomenal back and forth drama as well. The story of the Tigers, the story of the Padres, Dodgers, Padres, everything baked into that one. Division rivals going at it. Both sides of the National League and with the Guardians and Tigers. I mean, everything for baseball is coming up roses right now in October. And the Mets have tied things up in the ninth inning at 6 apiece after the 2-run home run. Oh, doctor! All right, we got Dianna Russini for football stuff. She's so good. She's so well connected. She reported for ESPN for years. Now she's with The Athletic. She's going to give us some scoop on Davante Adams, where he might land, what that looks like. The resurgent Joe Flacco. Why didn't the Browns give him more of a look at keeping him around after what he did last season? We'll talk about everything that happened in today's NFL. Dianna is joining us in just a couple of minutes. But we begin things, as always, with your Furious 5 Fitzmagic time, everybody. And Fitzmagic is the best fits around the NFL today. We will start with Odell Beckham, as Odell was finally activated off the PUP list, off of the injured reserve. So how about Odell walking in to Dolphins locker room wearing that incredibly puffy, colorful hat, the tassels on his jacket? This reminds me when you don't feel like doing your hair and it's actually pretty warm out, but there's a winter hat on the couch next to the door, and you just grab that to go out and play in. We're doing early October, crazy, colorful, massive hat. Okay, I see you, Odell. Odell activated, has to come up with a big look. There it is. It looks like a spray-painted cheetah. Next up, DeAnthony Bell, Brown safety. How about this? It's almost like a bowling shirt, or if he works at a Jiffy Lube or a mechanic, it says him. Plus that big old gold chain did not work for the Browns. Did not work for the Browns, as Cleveland once again looked much like that shirt, drab, over the course of today. And then finally, the best look of the day had to be the Denver Broncos throwbacks honoring newly minted Pro Football Hall of Famer Randy Gradishar, who was part of the 77 Orange Crush team that won the AFC, went to the Super Bowl, an incredible, iconic season in Broncos history, that 77 team that beat the hated Oakland Raiders at Mile High in the AFC Championship game and then ends up losing to the Cowboys in the Super Bowl, but ultimately never to be forgotten, Craig Morton and company. And gosh, are those just an absolutely gorgeous look. And I'm telling you, if I was part of the Broncos front office, I would take Broncos ownership and I would duct tape them to an office chair. And I would say, you will watch this clip over and over again until you say uncle and you let this be the regular jerseys. When you got something that beautiful, how dare you keep it in a closet? How dare you mothball that bad boy? That is beautiful. That is gorgeous. That is everything. Next up for the Furious Five, we begin with what else but more consternation, more furrowed brows, and more sweaty palms the New York Jets fans have. Today in London, it was a complete debacle. They fall below 500, and they follow up a miserable day last week at a rainy MetLife Stadium with that against the Vikings. Now, look, this is not to take away anything from the Minnesota Vikings. Absolutely not. They're 5-0 for a reason. They're finding ways to win. But this was not a great Sam Darnold day. And I will say this. I think the Jets defense for a day, for a week, can be let off the hook because Darnold didn't have a great day. 7 of the points came against the offense with the pick 6. And ultimately, they held them to field goals in the second half after trailing 17-0. So you actually got to give the defense some credit here. But for the Jets, here's the one thing I'm tired of. Just blame Saleh. It's the easiest fallback possible for Jets fans who do not want to possibly pull on the string of their Hall of Fame quarterback. And hey, I grew up in New York. I've got family that are Jets fans. Babs on my cohort mornings on Mad Dog Sports Radio. He's a Jets fan. I understand you don't want to have to take a sledgehammer to something you have never had. You are praising Aaron Rodgers for picking you. So you don't want to have to criticize Rodgers. But man, 3 interceptions, a pick 6, a completely sailed overthrow in the middle of the field of the first half, and then you are driving for a potential game-winning touchdown, and you throw that pass into coverage, picked off. I'm so sick and tired of just blaming Saleh. I get it. He's an easy mark, and he has been problematic, and once again, penalties today. Okay? But you cannot just simplify and boil everything down to, oh, it's always Saleh's fault. Hey, Rodgers, if he's going to control the offense, if he's going to be everything on the offense, if he's going to snipe at his head coach about cadences or 2-score leads or whatever, he's got to be held accountable as well. And today, he helped lose the game. He was one of the most significant reasons they lose this game to the Vikings. Am I wrong? So for Jets fans that do not want to dare step on the toe of Rodgers, it is time to be honest. You got a 40-year-old quarterback, and nothing's going to change that. And the defense might have been fine today. Hey, last week against Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos, in the middle of a driving rainstorm, gave up an 11-play, 87-yard drive for a touchdown against Bo Nix, okay, and on their home turf. So everybody has some blame here. There's discipline issues, there's special teams issues, there's defensive lapses, and there's offensive issues, there's quarterback issues, and there's coaching issues. Let's just be fair here. Everybody gets a little slice of this blame pie. Let's be fair. Okay. Next up. Oh my goodness, the Bengals. I mean, if I am Joe Burrow, I am absolutely beside myself that I am looking at another loss, okay, where I feel, and I don't know if Joe Burrow is wired like this to point the blame at anybody else, but Joe Burrow played more than well enough to win 2 of these games that somehow the Bengals found ways to lose. And I'm looking squarely at that Bengals defense. Here's the 2 Joe Burrow stat lines for the Washington game, a loss, and today's Baltimore Ravens game, a loss. Burrow against Washington, 29-38, 324, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Again, I'll read it. 29-38, 324, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He loses that game. Total shootout. They can't stop Jaden Daniels. Today, against the Ravens, 30 of 39, 392, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. He loses that game in overtime. Now, did they play too conservatively for the potential game-winning field goal on that final drive? Perhaps. That fumble set up from Lamar Jackson put them in field goal range, and they settled for a 52-yarder. They probably should have been a little bit more aggressive, especially considering that Burrow had moved the football so well all day. But, man, you're Joe Burrow. You put up 392, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. You lose the game? I like Anarumo a lot, but, man, his defense is a problem. That's a sin. That's an absolute sin. That's a problem. Hey, we've had a swollen audience tonight coming to us on YouTube, coming to us on Twitter. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Again, you can get this on Twitter every single Sunday. Okay, so be there for that. Also, we're live on Instagram, live as well as YouTube. So make sure if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, won't you? Make sure you are locked in. Subscribe to the channel. That way you will know when we go live, and you will be with us when we go live every single week. We do this every week on a Sunday night, so make sure you are here. Subscribe to the channel. Click on this button below me. Make sure you are, as we like to say, one with the channel. Also, tell your friends. Next up, the Bills. I am going to jump out a window over Sean McDermott's freaking time management, game management. I don't know if you want to blame this on the shots taken downfield by Josh Allen, on the play calling itself, on the offensive coordinator's booth, or on Sean McDermott. But McDermott ultimately has final say of, yeah, no, we're running out the clock here at the end. Okay, we're playing for overtime. We are not giving them the football back with X number of seconds left. No, we're not doing that. There are so many pelts on the wall of Sean McDermott's flawed game management. 13 seconds against the Chiefs in the playoffs. The Hail Murray, where somehow, some way, there's 3 defensive players around DeAndre Hopkins, and nobody seems to be able to knock it down. You have the loss, the 4th and 19 game against the Vikings 2 seasons ago, a game that I was at, where they let Justin Jefferson catch a first down on 4th and 19, and then Josh Allen's trying to sneak it out of the end zone and freaking fumbles the football. And now you have this, whatever you want to call this, okay? The H-Town flop, whatever this was. How many times, how many days, you tell me, do Buffalo Bills fans have to wake up and say, how did we lose that game again? How did this happen again? It's just insane. At some point in time, this is just a total Sean McDermott problem. And again, I'm not going to put it all on him because there's a quarterback, there's a play caller, there's a lot of everything. At some point in time, how do they keep losing the games like this each and every week or each and every month or each and every season. Game management blunders by Sean McDermott is going to kill every Bills fan. And then what do we do with all of that Zubaz? What do you do with it? You think you could just recycle that? No. You drop it in some type of container outside the bowling alley, thinking it's going to be shipped overseas for poor kids? That's a lot of Zubaz that goes to waste if you kill all Bills fans. I'm going to be up there in 2 weeks. I'm going to the Titans game. If I've got to sit through another complete and utter collapse that makes no sense, and they fought so hard to get back into this game, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Drink as many Labatt Blue Lights as will make me forget about it. And I'm not even a Bills fan, but I feel for those people. What more do they have to sit through? 4 Super Bowl losses, and now this? Every which way you could possibly lose a game by managing it into the ground is going to happen? Not okay. Not okay. All right, next up here on the show, can we talk about Joe Flacco's revenge? I mean, holy cow. I know he's old. We all know he's old. Okay. I know that the Cleveland Browns have $200 some odd million invested, guaranteed, no matter if he's on the roster or not, in Deshaun Watson. So you might as well go with Deshaun Watson. But is this not the most unbelievable comeuppance? Maybe it's the most believable comeuppance. I don't know. But that is happening to the Cleveland Browns right now. After last season, when Deshaun goes down and Flacco takes over, Flacco soars through the final month of the season, Cinderella run into the playoffs, and this just feel-good vibes everywhere for the Cleveland Browns and for Joe Flacco. Fans are back feeling good about themselves. The same way that I went crazy for the Mets is the same way Browns fans were like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to feel good about my fandom. I never feel good about my fandom. I always feel like I'm about to have the ball pulled away from me like Charlie Brown. And yet here I am feeling good and doing well. That's how Browns fans felt last year. And then all of those good vibes go poof because logically, pragmatically, it's still Deshaun Watson's job and Flacco's old. And maybe you don't want to have the popular guy in town backing up Deshaun the moment that something happens. Okay, fine. But how does Joe Flacco, after last season, not get another starting job somewhere? He's backing up Anthony Richardson. I mean, after that, look at how bad some of the quarterbacking is around the NFL. Shouldn't Joe Flacco have gotten a starting job somewhere? So today, just dumping dimes over the secondary's head. Just he's so fluid. He's so confident. He's done it in his sleep a million times. It is just extraordinary to watch a guy who is left for dead everywhere around the NFL. Shoved into the starting job again. Again, not supposed to be out there. This is Anthony Richardson's team. Joe, we need you again. Okay. Just dropping bombs on the Jaguars' head. Now, it did not lead to a win today, but can you not feel great just about that Flacco got a shot and did again what he did all year last year when he had his shot in Cleveland? Flacco throws for 359 and 3 touchdowns, no picks. The guy is 39 years old. Stop me if I'm lying. Flacco looked better than Aaron Rodgers. And they're both about the same age. All right, Flacco's maybe about a year younger, but still. And I know Flacco's not going to be in the Hall of Fame. Flacco's had some bad seasons. But you tell me why he does not have a starting job at the NFL after last year's offseason. I think that's crazy. I think it's crazy. All right, once again, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're on YouTube watching right now on YouTube Live, you just click on that subscribe button. That way, when we go live Sunday nights, it's the Sunday Pig Pile, picking through everything throughout the NFL weekend. You will get notifications, and then boom, it's sent to your phone or your laptop, your tablet, what have you. If you're watching on Twitter as well, make sure you follow me. That way you'll get this live stream each and every week. And also, if you want to follow on social, at Damon Amendo on Twitter /X, at Damon Amendo on Instagram, okay? That's how we're doing business around here. In the baseball game, it's bottom 9. The Mets miraculously had tied this thing up top 9 on the 2-run home run. It's 6-6, but now bottom 9. The Mets are trying to push this into extra innings and get out of this jam. Who knows what a crazy series. We are going to be giving away a little less dive bar merch coming up here, so stay tuned for that. They're awesome. We got stuff to give away. Also, we've got your little mo laugh of the day set up, and there's no game left behind around here. No game is too small. No game is too boring, including Patriots-Dolphins today. And so we will give Patriots-Dolphins no game left behind treatment coming up here shortly. But you want news. You want an insider. You want somebody to give you what's going on inside this league right now. Am I right? I'm right. I know I'm right. And so coming up, okay, we're going to have, once again, in just a few moments, Dianna Russini join us here on the show. Dianna's fantastic. She's got all the news and notes. You want to know where Davante Adams is going? She's got news on that. We'll get to that coming up here. I got some thoughts before we get there. The Chicago Bears finally looking like the team that some had prognosticated to win the division, make a run today. I know they're playing a crappy Panthers team. That's what we like to call the dead cat bounce, where you fire a manager, okay, or you make a change at quarterback and you get that immediate bounce. That's what happened, all right, when they went from Bryce Young to Andy Dalton. They are back to crappy Panthers, all right? They're back to crappy Panthers. They get absolutely crushed today by the Bears, 36-10. No offense whatsoever. That was it, game, set, match, okay? And I think we are back to betting against the Panthers each and every week if the Bears can look like that. But that's 2 good efforts in a row. Caleb's starting to turn things around, turn a corner. That's got to be good news in Chicago, knowing that they've got the weapons, they've got the defense. They needed the quarterback to step up. He had a really tough first few weeks, and then he finally did turn the corner, seems like, in the last 2 weeks, looking good in Chicago. By the way, bottom 9, it's now over. Phillies have pushed across the game-winning run, shot into the left field corner. That pushes ahead the run, 7-6. Phillies tie up this series at 1 game apiece. I knew it was too good to get too excited, which is why when we look back on me going crazy at the top of the show, it will look like Loserville. DA, what are you doing? You should know good things. They come to those who are not Mets fans. I know there's been some good vibes around the Mets. They've won a couple of dramatic games, but you can never get too ahead of yourself. You know this. If you root for a franchise, it does oftentimes let you down. And so it was an exciting top of the 9th, but bottom of the 9th, reality has set in. Shifts to Citi Field Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll be there for both of those games. Papa Mendo, I'm bringing to one of those games. Let's see how he does. Sometimes you get a Papa Mendo around an intense game. A lot of F-bombs, if you could imagine. Also, a lot of frustration, a lot of disgust. We'll see what the disgust level is. Depending on, I take him to 3 or 4. I'm not sure. I'll let you know. Disgust level high, though, when Papa Mendo's in the house. Disgust level very high. The Cardinals' upset of the Niners today is incredible because the Niners had complete control of this game and instead blew it. Okay? This was a 23-10 lead into the second half at halftime, and it was all Cardinals after that. They scored unanswered. All right, in the second half, 13 points, 14 points, end up winning this game, which is just incredible. They had the James Conner 2-point conversion, which gives them 8 on the touchdown and the 2 field goals, and that's how the Cardinals come out with a victory. I got poo-pooed about this in the preseason, all right? I am a guy that believes in the ghosts of the NFL. I believe in the history of the league, and this is one of those things that I just didn't feel good about. A Super Bowl loser surviving the Super Bowl hangover. The last time it was done was not that long ago, the 2017-2018 Patriots. They had lost the Super Bowl to Nick Foles and the Eagles in 17, came back to win in 18. They beat the Chiefs in that iconic AFC Championship game and then beat the Rams in that completely boring Super Bowl. Before that, you'd have to go back 50 years to 70, 71, and 72, when the Super Bowl loser came back to win the Super Bowl the next year. Cowboys did it in 71. The Dolphins did it, undefeated season 72. My point is, here's the teams over the last 50 years that have done it. The undefeated Dolphins with Don Shula as head coach, and the Brady and Belichick Patriots, who needed Dee Ford to be lined up offside, and the most garbage Super Bowl performance ever by a quarterback in Jared Goff. That's what they needed to do it. Hard to do. It's a long road. You get completely disoriented when you lose that Super Bowl and then have to go back up the mountain. And while the Niners are really good, they have taken their foot off the gas twice this year in games that should be completely winnable. Rams and now today against the Cardinals. Why does that happen? Of course, injuries, and Christian McCaffrey is the biggest one. But I also think that there's a certain exhaustion when you've got to climb all the way back up that hill again. You lose focus. You start thinking about how many more steps there are before you get to where you ultimately want to get to, how close you were. You're in overtime over the Super Bowl, and then it's gone in the blink of an eye. And I just think that this is a Niners team that is having that happen to them in real time. And it means that the NFC is so wide open, it's silly. Because the Niners don't look right. The Eagles don't look right. The Packers starting to try to get right with Jordan Love, although that's been a work in progress. The Lions have had a few fuse so far this season. The Cowboys will see tonight. But Dallas now with these injuries, they certainly haven't looked like a world beater, and they never get to the NFC Championship game. You look up and down the NFC. If you want to dream as a team that might be a party crasher, go ahead and dream, because that big boy of the NFC just is not around right now. It's just not. There is a lot of teams that would like to be that, but just aren't that. And the Niners are first and foremost on that list. I'm sorry, you can't lose those two games against the Rams and then today against the Cardinals. And that Rams collapse should have been a wake-up call for them, and it wasn't. And it wasn't. And that is scary. That is very scary. Let's also, for a moment, give a little applause to Brian Daboll and Danny freaking Dimes for going to Seattle and pulling out a victory. It's amazing because of all the things on the road in Seattle, cross country, etc., this is the day that Daniel Jones throws for 257, 2 touchdowns, and no picks through the air. This is the day that Daniel Jones adds 38 yards on the ground. This is the day that Jones goes for nearly 300 yards combined, 2 touchdowns, and wins a game 29-20 up in Seattle. This is the day on the road that Daniel Jones comes to life. Okay. I said this before the season. I will reiterate this. Brian Daboll is a really good coach, and Daniel Jones is a really limited quarterback. So a really good coach has to find out the few things that the quarterback does well and say, we will jerry-rig this scheme, this offense, to make sure you are able to do that. And he's figuring that out. And today was a day without Malik Neighbors as well, who was out with a concussion. Their number one target, who's got, every throw has gone Neighbors' way in the first month of the season. It's like, Neighbors, even if you got 2 guys on you, we're throwing it your way. For Jones this week to navigate through that, have that day on the road in a really tough place to play, shows that Daboll just has this kind of QB whisperer sense, And I know they looked like absolute trash against the Vikings week 1 in front of the packed house, 100th anniversary of the Giants, those wretched uniforms, but all the icons were in the building. It's a terrible day to have a terrible day. But you got to give Daboll credit, because this Giants team is a Graham Gano injury away from 3-2. And let's face it, that day they lost to the Commanders 3 weeks ago. They lose their kicker on the opening kickoff. They can't kick an extra point. And part of that is Daboll's fault for not having another kicker on that roster when Gano was banged up in practice earlier that week. But they couldn't kick extra points after 3 touchdowns. Now, that's a 4. 3 touchdowns. They had to go for 2 and didn't get any of them. And that's how the Commanders kicked 7 field goals to win. I mean, they are Graham Gano's groin away on the opening kickoff from being 3-2 in a season that many people thought that they'd have 4 or 5 wins, right? So give this guy credit. And Jones, the best season Jones ever had was 2 years ago, and he was healthy for the entire season. And his coach was Dayball, and he finagled a way to get to the playoffs and win a playoff game in Minnesota. Not an easy task. Not an easy task at all. All right, that's just about everything that happened today across the National Football League. I will also say those Broncos uniforms against the Raiders specifically were so beautiful. How dare you, Broncos ownership, take away those from us? That was a 90s thing, an iteration back in the 90s. Nike wants you to do so. Heck, the nostril on the new Bronco is a swoosh. I say new Bronco, 97. But when you see those in action today, oh, my goodness. Oh, just dying how good it is. Just dying. So beautiful. Please. Seahawks, you know what to do. Broncos, you know what to do. The Jets did it, and they look beautiful now. Just go back. Go back to the retros. Go back to the uniforms. I'll say this and I'll say it again. Just look at your 1987 media guide, and those are the best jerseys you've ever had. I don't care who you are. Everybody. Bills, I like the Bills' new uniforms a little bit better. I like these, but they're still classic and retro in many ways. For most teams, just turn back the clock to 87, and that uniform is your best uniform ever. Just do it. Do it. Okay? Do it. All right, time now for our very special guest. She's an insider with impeccable sources. What's going on with Davante Adams? Why didn't the Browns stick around and keep Joe Flacco on the roster? What is going on in Jets land? Who is there to blame? She's all over all of it. Let's get to it right now. Let's say hello, everybody, to Dianna Russini. Well, very excited about our next guest here because we have a long-standing relationship here, totally professionally, but to swap stories and nuggets and anecdotes over the years. She is amazingly funny. She's amazingly hardworking. She's one of the most connected NFL resources there are in the league. And Scoop City is right now booming as a podcast, as an information center, specifically amongst a female audience, which are very bright football fans as well. It drops Tuesdays and Fridays from The Athletic via the New York Times, alongside Chase Daniels. She does an amazing job. Our friend Dianna Russini. Dianna, how we doing?
You're amazing. Thank you so much for that intro. I'm good. I mean, talking football on a Sunday, it's funny. The older I've gotten, the more I've enjoyed football Sunday. You know, I mean, I've always liked it as a reporter covering it, but maybe that's just reflective of I don't really have a lot of fun in my life anymore, that this is like, this is my fun, you know, whereas when we were all single, hanging out, Friday night, Saturday night, going out, that was like the peak of your week. But for me, like, especially with the London games now, to wake up and have football on, this is awesome. So you're catching me on my joyful day.
And it's way better, obviously, to experience the NFL while sitting on the couch wearing an Adidas hoodie versus out at a stadium and being trapped with only one game to watch.
Oh, it's such a different experience. It is so different. We're talking, 10 years of being at arenas and stadiums and fields and flying and trying to catch that flight back, but then you get stuck and you got to stay. Oh, it's just, so yes, here's what I love about it most though, is I'm able to consume and also communicate better on Sundays with the people I need to talk to. So I'm actually doing my job better now that I'm home. So look, I miss players. I miss being out there, especially after great moments. There's no replacing that. But it's pretty cool to cook Sunday dinner for my family while also taking in some games. So my house smells incredible. I wish that you could smell it, but that's the only other thing I do pretty well, which is cook.
The obvious answer, or the obvious next question is, what is being cooked in the Russini household?
How long have you known me? How long have you known? What do you think we're making? It's Sunday. It's
sauce, right?
We're making sauce and meatballs.
Sauce and meatballs. Russini. is a Russini signature sauce from your mom's side or from your dad's side or your own concoction?
Great question. Family debate between my brother, sister, and I about whose sauce is the best because each of us have taken it from a parent. And so my brother took it from my dad, my sister took it from my mom. I kind of mixed both of them and kind of created my own thing. And I married a man who's not Italian, but he's a recipe follower. You know those types that just cook by the actual measurements? Like I don't do that, obviously, because I'm very type B. He's super type A. So he has now become this tremendous cook. Thanks, Giada, I guess. But like, yeah, he just follows like the cookbook, and it's really good. But when I cook, it's it's a little bit of everything. And I take from both my parents, and I think it's pretty good.
It's a feel thing, right? I mean, you have to just feel out how the sauce is going to work that night. I think if you adhere to like an instruction booklet, basically a recipe, you lose a little bit of the soul of cooking.
I agree. My mom makes incredible meatballs, and my dad's theory on it is he's like, she has no idea what she's doing. I think it's the oils in her skin. It's the oils in her skin. Like she doesn't even chop the onions that well. Like my husband was actually explaining it to his father this morning because they were discussing recipes, and I overheard him talking about it. He's like, my mother-in-law, I don't even know what the hell she's making. I don't even know what's in the bowl, but it tastes incredible. So I think the specialty is to have that Mediterranean oil in your skin to give it a little bit of that extra jazz. But to have the feel, I feel like we can easily apply that to football in terms of like watching some of these decisions that, yes, are analytically driven, but watching those making decisions just based on the feel, I'm always on that side of it.
Give me the decision-making process in Cleveland for why Joe Flacco was out of a job yet again after leading the Browns to the playoffs, this Cinderella remarkable run. The Browns offense suddenly looked good, and then once again they doubled down to Deshaun Watson. He ends up in Indianapolis and had a really good day on Sunday. So why didn't the Browns hold on to Flacco?
I know when you had Joe Flacco in there, it appeared that Kevin Stefanski's offense was so easy to run. Like, and he was orchestrating something every single week that looked remarkable, and they were able to overcome so many obstacles. And you just see them this year struggling; they can't find it. So, when you go back to the offseason and Joe Flacco's side, approach the Cleveland Browns along with the Miami Dolphins and some other teams around the league, to try to see, hey, like this is obvious, right? Especially Cleveland. This is obvious. We're going to do this again. We had success. They were pretty stunned that Cleveland said no. And when I dug on it a little bit, and then also even just having conversations around the league with people that are looking at the situation, a lot of people agree with what Cleveland did, which I think is really interesting. And that is put all their assets and focus on Deshaun and make sure there are no obstacles in his way. There's no mental hurdles of the crowd chanting for the backup quarterback who gave some success to them last year, perhaps not bringing someone that could possibly outshine them. Because look, there is a big business element here. They're paying him everything. So they've got to give him a path to at least try to have success this season. And I think that was the thought. And now fans are going, well, what about that thought of winning? Right? Because this isn't the answer. And obviously not even having Joe Flacco is not having any influence on Deshaun. He's been given some really good opportunity here to take that step. And he's just not, I think we saw a little bit in the Raiders game, that was his best game as a Brown this season. Granted, they didn't win. And I actually thought that they were going to build on it this week. Despite the fact that the Commanders are red hot and everything that they're doing is just electric at this point, I thought maybe we'd see these glimpses again of that Houston Deshaun Watson. And I feel like we say that every game. And I don't know. I think sometimes we may have to, or not sometimes, we may just all have to go, the magic may be gone.
It makes completely logical, pragmatic sense for what the Browns did. They've paid $200+ million to Deshaun Watson. As you said, he's your guy. You can't not make him the guy. Nobody's going to trade for that contract. You can't deal him. Your future isn't 40-some-odd-year-old Joe Flacco. And yet, there is no doubt when you see Flacco out there throwing dimes today, it feels like, did we make a bad choice? Do you think there's any regret that the Browns let Flacco walk and have hitched their entire wagon to Deshaun?
I don't know if there's going to be regret. I think ownership assigned Kevin Stefanski and his general manager, Andrew Berry, to make this work. And they discussed it, and they obviously were all on board with doing this. So for them to all be in on this, I don't think they could sit there now and go, oh, maybe we should have done this. Because either way, at the end of the day, I think they were told that they need to make this work, and ownership wanted this to work. So the efforts are being put forth, but I just don't think that enough is being done. And look, it's not all on Deshaun, and that's something that I've had some conversations with people in Cleveland about the problems, trying to sort through it. It's not. It's a lot of the different units that really aren't stepping up. Obviously, we've seen the offensive line have tons of issues, much different than what we saw last year when Flacco was under center. It just, remember too, they lost Bill Callahan, right? He was the offensive line coach. He's now in Tennessee with his son. And I mean, they have their own issues too at offensive line, but Coach Callahan is revered around the league. And I do think that they had a nice setup in Cleveland with him running the show. So they've gone through some coaching transition there. The defense with Jim Schwartz leading the way, they were spectacular last year. They were ranked in the top 10. Now they're swimming around the 20s. So I think it's Deshaun, yes, but it's everything in Cleveland right now. And I'm sure while ownership is disappointed, I think there's a lot of blame to go around.
Before fame and fortune at The Athletic and before fame and fortune at ESPN, you were an intrepid reporter in Washington, D.C. And so you saw the very worst of the Washington football franchise. You saw dysfunction. You saw infighting. You saw just employees that did not like coming to work. And now, boy, does this feel different. How does it feel to look on from the outside and be like, wow, that's a healthy, profitable, functional franchise?
They were doing the wave during the game. The wave. When was the last time you saw the wave? It's like it's like they're cracked out in the best way. Think about how happy you have to be to participate in that. It is the corniest of all cheers, but I've participated, and you do that when you feel united, when you feel like you're all in this together and you're feeling joy at the same exact moment. That is what the wave represents to me. And that's what I saw in Washington. And I can tell you, I never saw the wave when I was covering that team. I saw a lot of boos. I saw cans getting thrown on the field. I saw people waving goodbye, So look, it's funny. I tweeted a few weeks ago, D, that after it was I think it was his coming out party. It was Jaden's real holy cow moment. And I remember going to bed thinking, man, Washington's going to be electric in the morning. There's nothing better than the morning in Washington, D.C. after a win. There's a buzz because, obviously politics drives the nation's capital and our government. There's a lightness that's added. It's tense there. It's serious. But when Washington's winning, everyone's in a good mood. Better decisions are being made. There's peace in the world. That's what it actually feels like. I remember being really young when I covered them, and when they would win, I would go walk to get coffee, and everyone wanted to talk to me about the then Washington Redskins. So I tweeted about it, and man, fans get so mad. Fans from other teams, anyone from Washington saw me tweet, was like, yeah, she's right. It's incredible the next day. But every city feels that way. Every city feels like when their team wins, there's nothing better the next day. I've lived in 7 of them, 7 different cities, covered 7 different fan bases. But to me, I don't know. There's just something special about Washington when they're doing well. So it's really cool to see that this is working with the new ownership all the way down from Cliff Kingsbury joining this team and connecting completely mentally with this rookie quarterback who we knew was good. We knew was special. We'd heard about it. But his ability to process information the way he has and to look this good so early. I mean, it's just absolute standing ovation for this Washington staff.
Just up 95 from DC is Baltimore. And the Ravens, they pull one out of the hat against the Bengals today. Another crushing loss for Joe Burrow, where he did almost everything he possibly could, but they still find a way to lose. And the Ravens got that massive run in overtime from Derrick Henry. I mean, 2 years, $16 million feels like chump change to get Derrick Henry right now. Why didn't Henry command a better price tag in the offseason?
All right. So I think there's a couple issues here. you look at what he was doing in Tennessee at the end. The foundation of the team at the time, that was not very good. Remember, their O-line was terrible. That roster was trash. They were not great. They were doing the most in Tennessee with trying to have some sort of pulse. And if, as you recall, obviously they wound up firing everybody because it was not working. They were going to move on from Ryan Tannehill. They were going to move on from Derrick Henry. Everyone just felt like the time was up. It was over. So I think a lot of people around the league saw Derrick on film and kind of agreed that, you know what, his best years are behind him. And then also, I guess scientifically, his best years are behind him. But here we are again. Normally we're talking about the quarterbacks getting older, the Joe Flaccos and Tom Brady's always used as an example. Aaron Rodgers, even when he looks phenomenal, not great in London, but he's had some moments this season where he's been awesome. Where I think a lot of people just thought Derrick was going to get old and was old and maybe a little clunky. And guess what? Derrick Henry is not right now. He is not clunky. And look, it works in this offense. It works with this offensive line. Credit to Todd Monken for being able to really orchestrate something that looks really good. And I have a great relationship with Derrick Henry, and I stay in touch with him. And he loves this, man. He loves being in the spotlight. He's not the loudest human being. He's pretty laid back, but I think he's enjoying this. Just the way Saquon Barkley is in Philadelphia when they're having success. There's a similar, everyone kind of thought I was done, getting old, that running back anger, and those two appear to be blossoming at this point in their careers.
You noted the Jets. I mean, I don't know what to say to Jets fans at this point in time. You'd have a better sense of this having been from a Jets family, but it's a season that began with so much promise, and now 5 weeks in, not only are they sub 500, but the coaching staff is under fire, the defense is under fire, the special teams is under fire, and the quarterback is under fire after a 3-interception game in London. So what has gone so wrong? Who do you blame most out of this blame pie?
By the way, you just revealed something that people don't know, which is that I grew up a Jets fan.
Really? They don't know this?
People don't know this. Jets fans don't know.
Am I supposed to keep this undercover?
I think we're past that at this point in terms of I obviously don't have rooting interest in any team anymore. I love the teams that give me info. No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. But I don't know. You can't remove what you grew up rooting for. It's not like I can still be a journalist and try to be objective, but I like when they do well. And I think the Jets fan base thinks I live for them to be in this place of horror. And that's not at all. And I can never respond. I want to tell them hey, you don't know me, but my whole family are these big Jets fans, But look, I think they're at a point right now where they are all in, right? Hence the reason why they're trying to trade for Devontae Adams. That's on the table. They've been in discussions with the Raiders for over a week now. They want to give Aaron Rodgers every single item he needs to have success. And you asked the question of what is wrong. You asked me that same question when I was on your show a year ago, and nothing has really changed, because nothing has changed with the Jets. Their roster just got a little bit better from last year. And Aaron Rodgers is healthy, semi-healthy now, right? Because now he's dealing with this ankle situation and he's getting banged up out there because there have been some offensive line issues and some decisions made by him. Just it's football, it happens. But there were moments in the game in London where, look, first of all, let's just give him credit for getting back in that game. I thought this thing was over. I was like, oh my gosh, Robert Saleh's not going to be allowed back on this plane. There's no way, it's done. So the fact that they had that fight to get back in there and try to sort it out because they're just purely naturally talented. And that's where I'm encouraged and excited by this team. And Aaron even said, as long as we stick together, I still think we can figure this out. I just don't know if it's in his control. I don't, as much as he can lead and as good as he is and as much of a grip he has on this organization, it may be a bigger issue than just Aaron Rodgers. They have never been able to out scheme another team. Have you noticed that? They're never able to do it. So until they can figure out how to do that and not put it all on Aaron, I just think this is going to be an uphill battle.
So with Davante Adams, I mean, do you think that it's more likely than not he does end up with the Jets, or is there somebody else that could swoop in and grab him?
The Saints are in. The Saints are definitely in. The Steelers are in. As you know, he doesn't have a no trade clause, so it's not like he has his choice. He just has his own preferences. And we've known for over a year now that Aaron Rodgers wants Davante Adams. Arizona's original list of players that he wanted to join him. So it makes all the sense in the world. I know why Aaron Rodgers wants him. I know why Davante Adams wants to play with Aaron. They've had something great. It's apparent he doesn't have a lot of trust with his receivers besides Allen Lazard. And even that, I could see Adams stepping in here and Rodgers being like, oh my God, thank God. Like this is a guy I know I can depend on. But if a team gives the Raiders a better offer, Mark Davis is not going to go, well, Davante loves Aaron. Let's take something bad for our organization to make him happy. No, they don't care. They're going to take the best deal on the table. So we'll see. And look, you got those teams like Buffalo, Kansas City. They're lurking. They don't want to pay that type of draft compensation. They certainly don't want to pay that contract, but you never know. They're hoping this is a slow burnout. They're hoping the Jets come back from London and maybe Woody doesn't sign off on this because he doesn't want to pay, because he doesn't think that this could be enough, or he doesn't think that's the answer. You got to figure Joe Douglas is probably pushing every chip in going, we need to bring this guy because he doesn't have a lot of time left. He's got to make this work. They've got to get to the Super Bowl. Robert Saleh, I'm sure, is just like, whatever you need. So we'll see if they can land it. We've been told, when I say we, I just feel like everyone's reporting at this point, that this thing could heat up when they get back from London, which they got on a plane right after they lost, whereas Minnesota stayed, which I'm sure they're having a nice little party there, enjoying going 5-0. Incredible. But we'll see what the mood, the tone, the decision-making is, because that's a rough flight home for them.
Is the sticking point on trading for Davante Adams for GMs or owners, is it the draft compensation that it would command, or is it the money that he would have to be paid out? Because he makes almost $1 million per game check, right?
Yeah, it's the money, right? So it's about $13.5 million that they'd have to take over. And it'll get a little bit less as we continue to go, which is why a lot of teams are hoping this drags out, because then they don't have to pay that much. And then they're like, oh, I'll hop in. Let's ruin this, mess it up. So we'll see how they sort that out. But, most teams, this is a 1-year rental. This is a 1-year rent. This is it. This is for this year, because it gets too expensive for a team to keep them on past this year. I know Davante has some concerns too about that. He doesn't really want this to be a 1-year situation. So we'll kind of see how this shakes out. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff going on over the next few days.
So the longer it goes to where he's not traded, the worse off it is for a team like the Jets, because it would mean more suitors would jump in because the contract would be less, fewer weeks left in the season.
Correct. Now, the Jets would love to squeeze them too, though, because then they'd have to pay less. So, when I talk to sources about the situation, I'm told pretty consistently that the Jets are in no hurry. We're in no hurry. Well, they're in no hurry because they don't want to pay, but they want to get Davante Adams on their team. They've got the Bills. The Bills are going to be trying to bounce back here after getting beat, after losing 2 in a row and losing to the Houston Texans. So we'll see if that urgency changes, and if they're a little bit more, if they're quicker to get this done so he can be at practice this week.
Scoop City is such a good listen. You and Chase Daniel have such a good rapport. It's an easy listen. It's an informed decision, obviously. Informed conversation. Chase played for a long time. He's a really bright guy about quarterbacks and about offense. And you have great information. And what I think it's doing is resonating with an audience, and specifically a female audience. You guys are crushing it with the female NFL fans, huh?
Yeah, I think women are way more into football than I thought. And I see it just in my life, in my personal life. My friends, the type of questions they ask me. I met up with a girlfriend yesterday in the city, and she wanted to rip through each game. She's never done that before. I'm like, what do you want to know? And look, I do think gambling has helped with some of that excitement. I think women like to be part of that, or even if they are dating someone or married to someone that loves football, they want to be part of the conversation instead of just sitting in the other room. I also think the Taylor Swift effect is real as heck. And it's awesome. And I love it. I love that she's part of football. I know some football fans are annoyed by it. And I think the more she can bring attention to a game we love and is fun, once you learn it, it's not that hard. One of the things that a friend of mine said, it's actually a woman that lives on my street. She said, I really like your show because it doesn't scare me. She goes, I get really scared by their shows. And I know what she means. And I think, because I've been there before too, where if I try to hop in on a podcast, if I'm like trying to catch up on some hockey stuff, I'll avoid super serious shows that are really inside. I'm like, because I get, I don't know. I don't even know who that player is,
Sure.
Whereas I feel like we can have really pretty serious conversations, very similar to what you and I are doing now, where it's like, we're talking about the real topics. But I want to have a conversation about it that is memorable, but you can feel part of, that you understand, that you can follow, without getting too crazy about, what scheme, Brian Flores ran in the third quarter to put the pressure on the D line. Whatever. And look, I value that information. I study that stuff when I'm not collecting information. I listen actually to tons of podcasts that are super nerdy on purpose, because I have to stay sharp, especially when I'm having conversations with people in football. I can't just stay just be regular all the time. I have to have depth to what I'm doing. So there's a space for that, and there's a space for this. So I'm hoping more women if there is a show that women want to check out and they're not too sure about, I hope Scoop City is the place they start. And if it stinks, just fast forward. Chase is cute. Check Chase out.
No, and I think the Taylor Swift effect, you're right, is a good thing for football, because if it's a doorway into, look at how cool this sport is, and look at how accessible the sport is, and look, Taylor's into it because once a week you get an event. And that's unlike any other sport aside from college football. Every week you get one big event. You don't have to watch every single day. You don't have to invest 3 or 4 times a week. But for one day a week, it's a glorious, beautiful thing. And it's accessible in that way. And so, yeah, I could see why a lot of female football fans would gravitate to your podcast and your show. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, I also share a lot of my stuff that I'm going through. As a mom of 2, I'm married. I have a new house. I have responsibilities. And I'm not really great at life. So, I'm okay at the work thing, but I kind of stink at everything else. So I'm pretty open with Chase. Chase is like an incredible dad, an amazing husband. And he's got 3 kids. So a lot of our show is me sharing some disaster that I was part of. And hopefully there's some relatability there. I hope there's some women and even some men out there who hear what I'm doing and choosing to do and going, yeah, I've done that. It's not awesome. So yeah, I think there's an element of hopefully relatability to the show as well.
One clip that went viral of yours recently was when you trashed your husband for moping around the house after the Eagles lost to the Falcons in week number 2. I'm wondering emotionally where he's at now, because it feels like the walls continue to close in on the Eagles.
Yeah, it's a wreck here. So we're thinking about redoing our basement, and we want to make it a real sports theme vibe in there, between some of the stuff that I've done over the years for work and his Philly fandom. And we're just ripping through things that we want up there that are special moments. And I said, well, what about the, stuff from this season? Any guys that we'd want to put photos in there? And he's like, no one yet. No one. I'm like, nothing from Jalen? No. Okay. Yeah. So he's touchy, is irritable, is probably the way I would describe it. And look, having a bye this weekend was really good for our home. Because we could he's calm, he's with the kids right now, they're gonna, he's just in a good mood because the Eagles aren't playing. But I will say, so that I went on Levitard and it went viral because it was the Tuesday after the Monday night game where Philly lost, and we just had a rough morning here because he was a jerk because they lost. And so I was as raw as it comes. I was crushing Kev because I was in a fight with him. But I will say we went to a party in Philly that weekend, and I had so many wives of his friends come up to me and just be like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling out their stupidity. And by the way, these women are just as big as, they're Eagles fans themselves. They're nuts in a great way, but they understand that, you cannot allow that to control your house and the decisions you make and your relationships with your children. So, we're a work in progress.
Yeah, those women are more emotionally balanced. They are not as stunted developmentally as guys are about sports. They are actually reasonable, balanced human beings that love sports, but they don't have it wreck their entire lives for a week.
Yeah. I say to him all the time, I'm like, Saquon doesn't know you. He doesn't care about you. He's like, yeah, whatever. So and it's funny. I interviewed Saquon a few weeks ago, and I said, hey, I want to FaceTime my husband because, and I never do this, Dave, ever, because it's just unprofessional in my opinion. Like I like to separate it, but I knew Kev would just like melt if Saquon FaceTimed him because my husband also went to Penn State, so there's like a little bit of that.
Uh-huh.
So one of the biggest fights that we've had in our home since the day I met him has been he's bad with his phone. Like he doesn't answer. He doesn't text back. He's just a chill person. He's not like anxious like I am, staring, keeping up with the world. So of course I FaceTime him with Saquon Barkley in Saquon's home, and we're ready to do this whole fun thing to say hi to Kev. And guess who doesn't answer?
Oh, no.
His loss.
No.
His loss. So I like to remind him of that all the time. Like, remember Saquon was going to say what's up and talk to you. So
you blew it, Kev. You blew it. Yeah. Every Tuesday and Friday, Scoop City drops. It is Dianna Russini and Chase Daniel via The Athletic. Certainly, it's a must-watch, a must-listen to podcast or on YouTube as well. And follow Dianna on all of her social media platforms because the scoops are all over the place. She's one in a million. I love having her here on the show. And for joining us on Watch DA Live tonight, she will receive a bottle of Santo Tequila. This is Guy Fieri's signature tequila. Sammy Hagar also is part owner in this. It is delicious. It is crisp. It is clean. You are going to love it. And Santo's thrilled to have you on. I gave them a potential guest list because I reached out to you and a few other people right before the season began. And they said, who do you think you might have on? So I gave them the list. And no joke, the PR person said, Dianna Russini? All right, that's awesome. I can't wait for her to get the bottle of Santos. So you got a lot of fans out there.
Well, they must see my liquor cabinet and see all their product. That's probably why they were excited. They're like, oh, we've seen in her shots before, especially with the way this Eagles season is going. There's a lot of running around in this house. So I am the perfect person to join the show for someone that is looking for a bottle. So thank you for having me on. I love you so much. I'm so glad that things are working out for you. And gosh, we've been friends for a while now, man. Like we're getting to that point where it's getting weird. It's like, man, have I known you for almost 20 years? Like, it's just getting to that point. But I'm glad we're on this ride together, man.
No question about it. Dianna Russini joining us here on the show. Thanks, Dianna.
Bye, guys.
And thank you to the prop department for handing me this and handing me that, because now I'm going to enjoy a little Santo Blanco as we make our way through the final minutes of this Watch DA extravaganza. Thanks to Dianna. She's awesome. We've known each other for going on 15 years now. So really cool. She's always dropped by the show whenever, wherever, whatever platform I've been on, whatever show it's been, CBS Sports Radio, now Sirius XM, Watch DA Live. She's always been there, and I appreciate that very much. Also, thanks to Santo Blanco Tequila, you can find Santo online if it's sold in your area, or if you want to get it shipped to you, you can do the same thing. But I'm telling you, as the fall is here and you want to pour yourself a little cocktail, maybe sit outside as the weather gets a little crisp, as I did today, watching a little football, could do no worse, could do no better than Santo Blanco Tequila. I love it, and each one of our guests receive a bottle for joining us on the show this year. Santo's a big supporter of Watch DA Live. They love what we're doing. They love you guys as the D-Aliens, and I love people that love you guys. Our guest list has been phenomenal this year. Golden Tate, Super Bowl champion. Bart Scott, can't wait. Ian Rappaport, NFL Insider, NFL Network, Nick Wright, FS1, and now Dianna Russini. So each and every week we have these amazing football insiders and football minds. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, okay? On YouTube, search my name, Damon Amendolara. Boom, put it in, subscribe. If you're watching on Twitter right now, on X Live, you can also just make sure you follow me at Damon Amendo. Boom, you got it. So each and every week we go live on both those platforms simultaneously, YouTube and Twitter. You'll make sure you'll get the show in your feed, all right, and notifications when we go live by making sure you are subscribed on YouTube or following me at Damon Amendo on Twitter. Okay, let me just say that one thing we've been kind of kicking around as a show here is making sure we let everybody feel loved. You know, we love around here. Feel good, be good, do well, be good, and be good to one another. And how do we do that? By making sure no game is left behind. And so Aiden Hatton, our executive producer, aka the Marquette Marvel, takes it away right now with no game left behind. That includes the most boring, most dreadful, least watched game of the day. That would be the Patriots and Dolphins. Aiden, take it away.
That's right, another new segment to drop and new beginnings for both Watch TA Live and both the Patriots and the Dolphins. There was a fuss as full as Foxborough as the 65 degrees blanketing Gillette Stadium at kickoff set the stage for the game we will call Week 5's No Game Left Behind. Fins fans needed to pour up some gin and juice for Snoop's second start as a Dolphin, and Pats fans couldn't drop any more Hasselhoff because the Foxborough faithful is still on May watch. But for now, Jacoby Brissett actually quarterbacked New England to a first quarter lead. Snoop and his counterpart had their eyes on this one because Dr. Dre Stevenson scratched 33 minutes of records for the game's opening touchdown to give the Pats a 7-3 advantage. Miami responded as hot as Pitbull's fireball as their drives the rest of the half went like this. Doinked field goal, punt, fumble, turnover on downs, end of half. So things are going South Beach into halftime. But yes, Miami's vices and Foxborough's flubs certainly raised the sea level for bad football. Fans witnessed 18 flags, 159 penalty yards, a doink, a blocked punt, a drop by the hold snapper contributing to 3 missed field goals, and a combined 6 for 24 on third down. Yes, that is not a typo. Coming out of the hotel motel locker room to begin quarter number 3, both teams traded field goals to crawl the score to 10-9 New England. But the pinnacle came from the Dolphins' final swim down the turf. Miami's ground and pound, or should I say swim and grim, offense carried them to the shoreline, and Alec glittered in gold as he crossed into the end zone. New England could not come up for air in their final drive as the score displayed Dolphins 15, Patriots 10. And for the first edition of No Game Left Behind, this is the Marquette Marvel saying, Finn.
And you sprinkle in a little bit of Canadian bacon, a few puns, a few lyrics, a few clever jokes, and you have No Game Left Behind. A Snoop Huntley gin and juice reference, bravo. A Dr. Dre Stevenson reference, bravo. Miami's vices, bravo. But also Hold Snapper, very close to my heart, making sure that you got a classic DA drop there. And the Dolphins swim and grim offense. That was my favorite. Swim and grim offense from Aiden Hatton, Marquette Marvel. Nice job, buddy.
Thank you. That was the bon voyage of the No Game Left Behind experience. We'll sprinkle it in over the course of the year because, as you know, NFL fans, there won't be as putrid a game every week as that. And obviously, it's my team, the Patriots.
Yeah, the Pats.
We had a good start and we kept it short, kept it punchy. Shout out to everybody who has done Canadian bacon before, who has inspired me in that very recording, because the best is yet to come.
Very nice. Well, with that, on that note, Canadian bacon was a staple of the DA show on CBS Sports Radio with my producer and colleague, Sean Mraz. And Aiden doesn't know this, but I was exchanging texts with Mraz this week. We talked about it when Mraz came up to do some pumpkin picking a few weeks ago. You know, I live up in the country, and he came up from Long Island. And so I met him over at the pumpkin patch. And I said, do you think we can do a Watch DA live gathering at Bob's Bar maybe sometime in this fall? Because we were thinking about maybe running back the Bob's Bar show in the summer. But I think everybody in his family got married or had kids this summer except him. And so we kind of had a punt. He said, let me check with Bob. I got confirmation today that we have a date for a Bob's Bar Watch DA live episode. Now, I'm going to give you the date so that you can circle it. And if you wanted to try to make travel accommodations, you could start on that now. I have not confirmed this in terms of timing on my end because there is some moving parts here, but we have a date. If it's going to work, it's going to be this date, okay? Sunday, November 3rd. We would hypothetically do Watch DA live from Bob's Bar. Now, this is Mraz's dad's outdoor bar outside of his house, outside of where Mraz grew up and lived, okay? And he has an outdoor bar set up with TVs, which is where we've had show events before. Everybody would be invited. It'd be open to the public. And it would be a day of watching the NFL on a Sunday with everybody and then culminate in a Watch DA live episode, okay? That's November the 3rd, okay? November the 3rd, Sunday. This was the date that Bob could do. Again, I've got to make sure it works on my end, but if you wanted to circle that, this week I'll try to find some type of clarity on whether we can get this thing done because there's a lot of stuff on our end, obviously, that we got to check the boxes of. But I wanted to get ahead of this. If you could make it, know that it would be that date. If you wanted to start thinking about it, know that it would be that date so that I could give you as much heads up as possible. This was just breaking news this afternoon, texting with Mraz, okay? So, a Watch DA live. Where Mraz lives or where he grew up is in West Babylon, New York on Long Island. So you'd have to come up towards New York City, then go out to Long Island, all right? Just putting it out there. Again, we're going to work on this, workshop this thing, but that would be the hypothetical date. It would be the Sunday after Halloween, November the 3rd in West Babylon, New York on Long Island, South Shore of Long Island. Okay, that's that. Got some big stuff. Make sure you are subscribed so that you get the notifications if and when we do cool stuff like this. I have to say, watching on my screen next to me, the Mets tie things up in the top of the ninth on a dramatic home run. John, of all the dramatic things, John! And then watching, of all the people, Nick Castellanos drive the RBI single down the left field line with 2 out of the ninth. Where's that Santo tequila? Bartender? Pour me another. I mean, taking 2 in Philadelphia would have been a little bit too much, even for greedy, grubby Mets fans. But, man, that close. Okay. Focus. Bring it in. Center. Deliver. Okay. Speaking of Santo, we have a cocktail for you guys. Santo sent us a few brilliant cocktails to use over the course of football season with your Santo tequila. How about this little cocktail action? The Exhale Cocktail, which you know that I like to enjoy. You go outside, you put your phone on the desk inside, you put it on the counter, you turn off the ringer, what have you. You go outside, you just don't even think about anything except the cocktail in your hand and be one with your thoughts. The Beer Rita, presented by Santo. You take an ounce and a half, so a shot and a half of Santo Blanco. You give it 0.75, so 3/4 of an ounce of fresh lime juice, delicious. a quarter ounce of agave, okay, and a splash of beer, maybe a little salt, maybe a little lime, and then boom, there you go, a beer Rita with Santo Blanco. Does that sound delicious or what? I love that idea. I love using the tequila as the base, and I love a little fresh lime juice and agave. Look, there's not too much stuff in there. It's not going to get you sick because there's a lot of sugar in there. I think that's a delicious idea. The Beer Rita presented by Santo. Well done. Also, Les Dive Bar. I want to thank them. The Oakland A's season obviously over. The time in Oakland for the moment is done, but that does not mean that the storylines ever actually die in Oakland, because we know it's just another day and another PR nightmare for John Fisher. Most recently this week, we found out that secondary prices on the secondary ticket market in Sacramento are going to be absolutely outrageous. You are talking about tickets in the thousands of dollars to watch the A's in Sacramento in a minor league baseball stadium, which seems to make absolutely no sense for a roster that almost nobody outside of Oakland could name a player on. Why is this a controversy? Because it does not smell right, and perhaps the A's are artificially juicing the prices of these tickets to make it seem like they're in demand, or maybe try to validate revenue sharing or their television contract or what have you. But something doesn't sit right with anybody that it would cost thousands of dollars to attend a regular season game in a minor league baseball stadium involving the Oakland A's. Again, if you're wondering what is going on in Oakland with the A's or what is going on with the A's organization in general, you have every right to do so. The man is a con artist. The man is a crook, John Fisher. That means you should support the Last Dive Bar, because they have been on the front lines battling this buffoon, this crook, for a long time, and they sponsor this show. They have great stuff. They've got amazing hoodies. I've been wearing my Oakland Coliseum hoodie all weekend long at night because it's so nice and crisp right now, fall weather at night, and so I'm wearing that hoodie, and it's just awesome. They got great t-shirts. They have great beer steins. They got great pins. They've got great posters. They got great everything. They're just a really cool group of people. Brian from the Last Dive Bar, I consider basically a brother at this point in time, and they're just amazing people. So why not support them? If you use the code Mothership, 15% off your order. Basically, look at the price on the website and know that there's no tax and no shipping, because you've got 15% off your order just by using the code Mothership. That's a pretty good deal. Just look at the prices and go, it's free shipping and no tax because I watch DA live. Boom. Love it. So go there, lastdivebar.com. And this week is busy because I'm going to try to make both Mets games over at Citi Field Tuesday and Wednesday. So I think the following week, I'm going to do one big Q&A live on the air midweek. We'll do a bunch of baseball questions, Oakland A's questions, relocation questions, everything. I think we'll just blow it out. And I'm going to give away everything possible in my Last Dive Bar closet. And they're sending me more stuff. They're amazing. They just want to give it to you guys. They want to make sure everybody that loves this show is taken care of. So look for that, not this week, but the following week. I'll let everybody know next Sunday what's going to happen. But I think I'll do a Q&A sponsored by the Last Dive Bar and just give away everything right now in my storage closet. I've got a closet right over there in Studio DA that filled with T-shirts and mugs and pins and everything, calendars and bags, all Last Dive Bar stuff. And it's just awesome stuff. And I want to make sure it gets out to you guys, especially during the baseball playoffs. There's still baseball in the air, and I love it. I love October. So I'm going to do that. Keep an eye out for that. Make sure you are subscribed so that you get the notification when we go live and you can win cool stuff. Speaking of winning cool stuff, I believe Aiden Hatton, our Marquette Marvel, has our Q&A comment of the day. If you've won the comment of the day in the past and have not received your gift, make sure you reach out to Aiden or myself and say, hey, I'm a winner. Here's my address, because for some of you, we don't have your address, okay? For some of you, you've won stuff. We don't have your address. Make sure you reach out to me or Aiden and do that on social media. That works, but also on the email. Look at that email address right there, watchDALive@gmail. That's the name of the show, at Gmail, watchDALive@gmail.com. Email us with your address, and we can send you your gear. Aiden, pick your winner. What do we got here? We want to make sure everybody gets out so they can watch Sunday Night Football.
That's right. In the midst of a great chat this evening, a lot of fans coming through. My favorite was a newcomer, and this is one that everybody can relate to, even if we had a lot of fan bases jabbing at each other tonight in the chat. It was Alex who wrote, having to work and miss a critical game. You hate to see it. So this one goes out to you, Alex. I've been there before, not too recently as well, or not too very recently. So I know we've all been there, and Max is our winner tonight.
All right, Alex, nice job. Yes, indeed. Having to go to work and missing out on crucial games is a brutality of the highest proportion. I'm sorry that you have to do that, but we are here for you to make it a little bit less difficult. We'll send you some Last Dive Bar gear. We'll get your t-shirt out there. Make sure, Alex, you hook us up with your address. Reach out to Aiden or reach out to me, and we will get your address, or email us, watchdalive@gmail.com, okay? By the way, I saw Timbo Slice in the comments saying, is DA going gray? I'm 45 years old with a kid at 16 months old. You think I might have a little gray? The fact that I'm not all gray is pretty amazing, okay? Yeah, the temple's a little gray. That's just wisdom, Timbo. Also, I mean, look at my life right now. Of course I'm going to have a little gray. Give me a break, okay? But I will not be using any Just for Men, at least at the moment. The Bourbon Belle says that she does not mind if I go a little gray. She says, you know what, Silver Fox, that's fine. So just so you know, whatever you see, always going to be au naturel. That's all. That's going to be my commitment to you and her. Whatever you see here is what you get. There's no spray on hair, okay? There's no nothing, no coloring, no nothing, okay? This is all real hair. All right, right here, it's all real. All right, before we get out of here, we got your Little Mo laugh of the day. We love Little Mo. He watches over us from upstairs. He was a longtime listener of mine on the CBS Sports Radio Network for many, many years. And now he lives and watches over us up in the heavens after passing away due to a lifelong battle with cancer. At just 14 years old, he passed away. But that does not mean we ever forget Little Mo's laugh, because it was so magnetic. And so what would Little Mo be laughing at today? I would say the scene pregame from Pittsburgh. Look at Snoop Dogg, big Steelers fan, and she's riding the stationary bike. I mean, of all the things, I know you give Snoop Dogg his lay of the land. You give him whatever, carte blanche at Acrisure Stadium because he's a Steelers guy and it's a nationally televised event, and this is Steelers and Cowboys. But Snoop, I mean, the stationary bike, there's nothing better. Go into the end zone, wave a terrible towel, do something else. The stationary bike, run the steps, go to the Steelers Hall of Fame, go see the retired Franco Harris jersey, the statues, the bridges, the rivers, whatever. The stationary bike? I mean, what are we doing here? The stationary bike? So there you go. How can you not laugh at that? It's Snoop Dogg riding the stationary bike at the Pittsburgh Steelers Stadium. Okay, that's going to do it for us. We had a massive audience tonight. Many of you probably came here for Dianna Russini, disappointed when she left, but I'm here with you now. So thank you all for coming. And please, if you enjoyed tonight, make sure you tell your friends. We had a massive audience tonight, and I thank you so much. We do this every single Sunday. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel tonight, okay? Subscribe to the channel. If you're on YouTube right now, click this subscribe button below me. Please, if you're on X/Twitter, make sure you're following me at Damon Amendo. That way, you'll get this same box in your feed, the live box, to watch us live on either place. Or if you're on Twitter and you want a new YouTube channel to check out, come check out our YouTube channel, because we take the best of the show. We push it out every single week. I do DA deep dives. We do giveaways, Q&A, all this great stuff. We do it right here, full-on interviews. This week, I've got an interview with a longtime Emmy Award-winning television producer named Dennis Denninger. He's got a new book out, and he's got a prediction for the NFL in Europe based on his conversations with NFL people over the years, which is very, very interesting, following the London game earlier today. So stick around for that. It's also at the history of the Super Bowl. Thanks to Aiden Haddon, the Marquette Marvel. Thanks to all of you, the Watch the Aliens, for being with us tonight. We had a huge, huge crowd to come enjoy Sunday nights with us. And thanks to Dianna Russini, who was awesome as always. Have a great rest of your Sunday night in Week 5 of the NFL. I'll see you tomorrow morning on Sirius XM Channel 82 on the DA Show with Babchick, beginning at 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Until then, be good. Be good to one another. This is the Sunday Pig Pile. Oink, oink, suckers. I'm DA, and we are out of here.